You started breathing in it again. You always breathe in at the beginning.
We just started with
Yeah,
my
we're
breath.
in. It
Oh,
just started
show
with
that I'm alive.
a short, sharp intake of breath, which is appropriate because this is a very shocking celebrity issue of this show. Very exciting. We're going to be talking about some very famous, influential, and important people,
Well,
or
that
maybe
might
not.
be pushing it. That might be pushing it. But before we get into that, what is going on, Ben?
What's going
What
on?
is
What's going
going
on
on?
over here in Spain? Um,
Well, I don't really care about the
oh well,
rest
yeah,
of
okay. Well,
Spain.
in the world in general, this week I've mostly been talking about the new Apple goggles. Have you seen those? Have you seen the adverts for those?
No.
I'm absolutely convinced that we're on the precipice of a new epoch of technology. You know how things changed according to one kind of breakthrough technology, and for us it was probably the internet, I suppose, or the mobile phone,
Yeah.
maybe both of those things. Um, in the digital age, it's like so different to how it was with our grandparents and parents. I think my grandparents, it was probably like cars,
Fire.
yeah, electricity and cars. It genuinely was cars. Like that happened when they were growing up. And then
Yeah.
my parents, it was like radio and television. And we're like the digital generation where it's like everything is digital. There's a lot of stuff happening super fast.
What do
But
these goggles do, Ben?
it's
Is it just a
AR.
new way of watching porn?
Well, we'll get there. At the moment, it's not for that. They say it's not for that, but you could see there's like a little glint in the guy's eye when he says, "There's no, you can't, you wouldn't be able to. There's no reason for anyone to even imagine using it for pornography." Yeah, meet me round the back in 5 minutes. Um, of course, it's going to be used for porn. Now, it's a AR, augmented reality, and there's lots of videos of these guys. It's been released in the US. These guys in the do they call it the metro or the underground, whatever, the tube? And
Yeah.
you can see
A
through
subway.
the subway. That's the one. You can
Yeah.
see, but through the goggles, but it projects onto the lens that is in front of your eyes. Loads of different apps and stuff. So they're kind of walking through the street like waving their arms around because they're interacting with these things that you can't see that are in front of their vision.
It sounds
It's
like
weird.
my work. Sounds like all the people I work with just waving
Yeah,
their
it's
arms at things they can't fucking see.
basically tripping, like real life tripping.
Yeah.
So that's what's
I,
going on.
I've had a gripe this week. Do you want to
Tell
hear
me
about it?
about your gripes.
So Lily has signed up my little one. She signed up for a martial arts class.
Oh
Not
no,
even a specific martial art,
just
which is
general martial artery.
my first problem with it. Uh, Second problem, they made me buy her a license for
A
£60.
license to kill.
It
Oh my
appears,
god.
yeah, but she has to have a license for her tiny hands and feet, um, which I, I could beat her in a fight. You know, I could defend myself against that 70-year-old tiny idiot. Um, so that was 60 quid to have a license, which seems a bit excessive. Then the outfit was another 60 quid. Um, it gets worse from here.
What do you mean the
Every other,
outfit? The kimono?
no, it's not even a gi. It's like a shit tracksuit from Wish. Look,
Where's
it's
she taking
dangerous.
these classes? In a shed? Who's
Well, I don't want to mention the place in case they
in a
ever
field?
find this. But uh, the worst thing about it, the two women that are instructing her are morbidly obese. The idea of this was for Lil to get a bit more exercise,
Yeah.
and now her role models are a couple of fat, useless,
But to be fair, like
ism-riddled
if
idiots.
if
One of
she
them's got a
can,
beard.
oh my god, if she can defend herself against two obese women,
Hmm.
she can fend off anyone really.
I
It's a
mean,
good
if you
place to
had like
start.
a bit of chocolate that you could toss into, into a
But
corner.
has she got pockets in a martial art tracksuit?
I'm just
Stick a
looking
bit
at
of
it now. Yeah,
chocolate in
maybe.
her pocket and see if she
Yeah,
she can make
sniff
out
like a
alive.
dog. Yeah, so that's annoyed me this week. The amount of money I've shelled out for a really shit lesson. Um, but she seems
Wonderful.
to like
That's
it.
and that
So.
was a new section of the show that we call Rich's Gripe.
Oh, yeah, we should do this.
Okay.
I've got a spreadsheet full of them, mate. Yeah.
Tick
I had
that
to
one
buy a
off.
floating hard drive.
You're not allowed to talk about them again though. Once you've moaned about something, you
Ugh,
just got to let it go into the atmosphere.
okay. All right. So what are we talking about this week? Something
Bloody
fun.
celebrities and like all kind of mad stuff that they've done. There's people sticking things up each other's anuses and all of that. Well, that's in my list. I don't know what you've got on your list, but
Obviously,
all
that's on
kinds of
your list.
mad stuff going on. Um, yeah, would you want to kick off? Who are you going to
Well,
tell us about?
should we talk a bit about? I guess they're urban myths, really, aren't they? They're like stories that come out of nowhere. Uh, I don't know. Yours might be true. I'm not sure if mine are true, but
Hmm,
they've been perpetuated over many years. Some of mine. Um, uh, so I don't know. Where do urban myths come from? I
the
suppose it's
playground most of the time. I think it's just kids chatting, isn't it? Maybe it's different nowadays. That's an interesting thing. Maybe celebrity myths don't exist in the way that they used to, but like when we were kids, everybody would watch the same TV shows during the week, wouldn't they? And then you talk about it at school.
hmm,
Nowadays, nobody, because there's no programming on television. You can watch what you want when you want. Um, I don't know if people kind of have those conversations, but a lot of myths or a lot of gossip kind of came from the playground.
yeah.
Nowadays, they just probably talk about, I don't know, who's pregnant, what flavour vape they're doing, or
Well, I
like,
suppose there's new made up stuff, isn't there? Older Taylor Swift
oh
got
god,
she got deep faked last week.
oh
Uh,
no, she been to
yeah,
hospital.
but, it was all over Twitter and stuff. All these nudes of Taylor Swift, and
Uh,
nothing wrong with the way Taylor Swift looks at all. But it got me thinking: if I was going to get deep faked, I'd hope they give me a better body than the one that I have. You know,
well,
like,
we used to deep fake stuff at school before the internet. You used to like draw really bad stick people with massive boobs,
yeah, I
and
don't
that
think
would
it
be
would have
your
fooled anyone, would
like
it?
caveman porn. Yeah, but you had to work with what you had at the time. It was good enough. I remember there was a very detailed ladies' part in the toilet in my secondary school that it was in the cubicle that people was most frequented. People would stay in there for like an hour. I don't know what they were doing, but
I dread
yeah,
to think. Should we
have
move on to my first one?
yeah. Who is it?
Prince, I'd like to talk
Oh
about.
God, what's he been up to? Bam.
Uh, Bam, Prince, bam. Well, he's dead now, isn't he? Unrelated to this. But this is the rumour that started in the 80s that Prince had a couple of his ribs removed.
Hmm.
Do we know why?
So well, the only reason any um. No, no, go on. You say it.
Self fellatio.
Yes, he could suck
Uh,
himself off.
yeah. Do you like what I did there with the picture as well? He's got some ribs.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, so this sort of came out in the 80s that Prince wanted to suck himself off. I don't know. Is there a better way of putting
It
that?
just came out what in an interview. It's always been my dream to suck myself off, and now that I'm a multi-millionaire, I can have a procedure that will allow me to do that.
But well, this is my point. Where did this actually come from? Nobody knows.
I'd say the playground again, because I think most you
Yeah,
must
but
have tried. You
who
must.
makes
Don't
that
pretend that
up?
you haven't tried.
Oh yeah, of course. Like I think everyone has. Uh, I mean, I tried it. I tried to suck you off once. You hated it. You said it was well annoying. But it's, no, but I think most men would have at least thought about it. Oh, my dad started listening to this podcast. Apparently, it's very awkward.
Oh dear.
Um, but yeah, I imagine most men have considered it, and for some reason, this myth began. But Prince had his bottom two ribs removed to make it possible for him to do that to himself. Let's put it that way. And then, like a decade later, in the 90s, at Marilyn Manson, it started.
Yeah,
The same myth started about him.
got cursed
Um,
with the same myth. Yeah,
yeah, Manson like denied it a lot, but yeah,
suspicious.
no one really knows whether it had actually happened to Prince. I had a quick search around.
Hmm.
uh, there's a website called prince.org, and yeah, it's basically just it's like a message board or like a forum board, um, and the majority of it is, did Prince have some ribs cut out so he could suck himself off? Like the whole website just seems dedicated to that. Everyone's forgotten what an incredible musician he was and stuff.
Did he make music? I didn't
Yeah,
know.
when he wasn't sucking himself off. Yeah, when he.
I'm surprised he had time.
But
That
sorry, go on.
is a strange thing, and I wonder because there must be a patient zero, the rumor zero, the person that had that idea. I just imagine somebody kind of uh, smoking a joint with their friends, saying, "Oh, did you know Prince had two ribs removed to suck himself off?" It's just like a stroke of genius that came to us. I'm going to make this rumor out of nothing for no reason at all, but it's so powerful that people have to repeat it, and it just gathers momentum, and before you know it, it becomes a myth. But it has to start somewhere.
Well,
Um,
it's actually quite an old myth. Like it goes back to the first recorded uh, mention of someone accusing someone of having a rib taken out was back in the 19th century, and it was like uh, a lady in the, what do you call it, the court, you know,
hmm,
the hoi polloi, um, lost a lot of weight, and other women started accusing her of having ribs removed to get a more slender waist, um, and so it sort of became a bit of a gossip thing in those highfalutin circles. Um,
interesting.
in Yeah, and back then they did actually do it, and the surgery was performed by, they make a little cut in your back along the spine, and then sawing the like 11th and 12th, what they call the floating ribs. You know
Hmm,
those ones that aren't like full scale. They're like
yeah,
mini ribs, um, and yeah, and they used to do that in the 19th century.
sounds absolutely horrific, but totally worth it. I
Well,
mean,
I don't think for them it was to do what Prince wanted to do.
oh,
But more recently, there have been some people. There's a model who wanted to look like Jessica Rabbit, basically, and she had four ribs removed in an effort to make her
uh,
waist like
hmm,
super skinny and that sort of hourglass figure. Her name
yeah,
is
she died.
Amanda Lepore, uh, and she sort of has that Barbie doll, bimbo plastic doll sort of look. I'm just checking her out now, and yeah, yeah, I think she could have done other things rather
I,
than have her ribs removed.
sorry,
It's a mad thing, though, isn't it? Like taking ribs out just to
I
look a
mean,
bit better.
I think if you could um, go through a procedure to suck yourself off, um, you'd save a lot of time and money um, in other areas of your life, and just live a pleasant bachelor experience. I'm very much thinking after this conversation of
Try it
seeing if I can
yourself.
get that done. I mean, it's you can do all sorts nowadays.
Well,
If I
it's
could
an old
get
thing. The
myself a
old
nice pair of boobs and suck myself off, I wouldn't. What? Why would I need? I wouldn't need anyone. But you just
no, I mean, I see what you're saying. There's a nice photo of they call it a grotesque. I guess it's like a gargoyle or whatever, isn't it?
hmm,
But there's a thing that someone made in the 90s, but made it to look old. Um, of a man
yeah.
sucking himself off. Self fellatio,
But you know why
or
they used to do that? That was the builders because
just
it
having a laugh.
No, no, it was a big middle finger to the church, because it was your Catholic duty to work for the church for free. So they'd often employ these guys, and it would take decades to build a church, and they'd be out of work and they didn't get paid for it.
Yeah.
So they'd always hide this kind of, yeah, thanks very much, thanks for nothing little message. So a lot of the gargoyles have, like, people with their
Oh,
asses out or whatever. Yeah.
I think, well, it goes back a long way. Autofellatio is
Hmm.
sometimes known as well. That goes all the way back to Egypt. A lot of ancient texts refer to autofellatio within Egyptian religion, both the gods doing it to themselves and their followers learning how to do it to themselves. Uh, in the research I've done at work on my work computer about autofellatio,
Yeah.
um, apparently anyone can do it. It's just a matter
What?
of training.
What?
Yeah,
You don't even need to remove the ribs.
no, you can just learn how to do it. It's just a bit of flexibility.
Which? Where did you?
So,
What's the link for that? You've found that information.
I think yeah, you've barely managed to do a workout yet, so
I touched a
let's keep
tip
things
once,
realistic.
but that was about 20 years ago.
It wasn't yours either,
Yeah.
but but yeah, it goes back a long way. People have been trying to do it. 'Cause let's face it, men are perverts, and we'd do anything to get ourselves off. Um, there's,
Absolutely.
there's lots of sort of more modern references in culture. Ron Jeremy, he was known for doing it. Uh, and there's a book called what's it called? The Hand Reared Boy, um, which is about a fellow in a boarding school. It's mentioned in that quite a lot. Uh, that film Clerks, the Kevin Smith movie.
Hmm.
Uh, Bill Hicks, he used to talk about it quite a lot. Um, yeah, it's an ongoing obsession.
In
Uh,
Betweeners. It was mentioned in an episode of In Betweeners,
was
I'm
it?
pretty sure.
Yeah, I think it's Sharon will be shouting patriarchy, patriarchy. Um, so yeah, I don't know. We're a bit messed up, us men sometimes. I don't think a lady would do it. Although I've just seen a link for autocunnilingus. So
Oh,
maybe if we go,
that would be even more of a challenge. That'd be quite impressive. If but then women are more flexible, I think, on general.
yeah, but I think probably also have better things to do. Um,
That's-
reported in macaques and chimpanzees as well. So I'd love to
Yeah,
see a
I've
monkey suck
seen that.
itself
I
off.
saw that
That'd be brilliant.
I saw that in Gibraltar. I saw a macaque, suck himself off, and I saw a German tourist disappear into a cloud of monkeys. There's these signs everywhere. Have you been to Gibraltar?
Yeah, once,
Uh,
man. Yeah,
did you
long
see the
time.
monkeys? You go to
Yeah,
visit the monkeys.
yeah,
They're quite dangerous, and there's signs in
yeah. They're
like every
vicious.
language saying "Do not feed the monkeys." And this German guy got out of the car in front of us, and he was like, "I am going to feed the monkeys now." And he just got a little, literally put his hand in his pocket before it was out. They just got him. They just took him. He was gone.
Tearing him to
It's
shreds.
just absolutely tore him apart. Um, or
I feel we've
rodents.
gone off on a tangent, but that's Prince having his ribs removed. No, I don't think he did, but no proof either way now because he's dead. So
Yeah. Well, I'm going to do a very quick one here. It's a very common modern myth from the US that's still bumping around about J to the FK, um, the president of the US. I can't remember which number he was, but everybody knows who he was. And apparently, he called himself a donut when he went to visit um, Germany, and he did a speech, and he referred to himself as a Berliner, but it was he's how did he say it exactly? I can't remember. I have to look it up. Oh, here it is. He said, "Ich bin ein Berliner," and Berliner is like a famous brand of
yeah,
donut, and a lot of people misrepresenting the German people said that that's not how you say a person from Berlin. It's weird because it's like, you know how people like to talk on subjects that they don't know anything about, much like this podcast
I guess.
uh,
Yeah.
that we do every week. Well, it's exactly that. The Americans, I don't know, if they were detractors from the Kennedy legacy, they thought he was a bit of an idiot, whatever. Um, they they believed that saying Berliner was referring to the jam donut brand, but he was actually advised by his team. Obviously, he did a very short speech in German, um, and they helped him write it. He wasn't a fluent German speaker, but that is actually what you say for somebody that comes from Berlin. So it's a modern myth. He was right. You're wrong. If you think he was wrong, you're wrong. Two negatives make a positive. So I don't know what that means. If I don't know who's right. I don't know. I'm lost.
Is
Uh,
it why he got shot?
yes, yeah, because he
Okay.
said he was a donut, and they were like, "Ah, oh, you've got to take him out."
Yeah.
Ich bin ein Berliner. Yeah,
Okay.
Berliner. The same
That's
as
an
you would
interesting
say
one.
a person from Hamburg is a hamburger.
Hmm.
It's obviously
Yeah.
where the name comes from.
And you're
So
from Staines, so you'd be a
Stainser.
Stain.
I'm not from Staines, but anyway, that was a very very quick one. I just wanted to dispel that myth very quickly. I'm going to dive straight into another one because I clearly haven't done as much research as you with your 2,000-year history of self-fellatio. Um, you've got more time on your hands. I'm going to go straight into number two. Uh, First, I'll ask you a question. Have you heard of gerbling?
Is this Freddie Starr?
Oh, well, I mean, I will make a reference to him in a moment, but
Is it a real thing? Is it
gerbling,
what I think it is?
gerbling is
Is it putting a gerbil up your bum?
gerbling is the act, or some might say the art, of stuffing a gerbil into your posterior. Um,
Has it ever
it's
been on Britain's Got Talent?
it's a fictitious sexual practice, although
Ah,
it's
it was
it
fictitious
was
until my
fict
stag do.
it was fictitious. It was fictitious, but it's been talked about so much that it's kind of entered into the realm of reality. Um, well, a little bit of history. According to the folklorist, I didn't know those existed. Uh, Jan Harold Brunvand, you know who I'm talking about, that famous
Yeah,
folklorist.
Jan
Yeah,
Howell.
you know him.
Yeah.
You've got a few of his books. Um, the fictitious accounts of gerbling were first recorded in 1984. So I feel like it would have been an older thing than that, but yeah, 1984. It's very modern, and they were said to involve a mouse and an unidentified man. So again, it's just kind of like playground rumors. Like, is it just like nonsense stories that boys make up to entertain each other? And then in later versions, it changed into a gerbil. God knows why that would make it any more arousing or entertaining or whatever. But yeah,
Well,
and
I don't know,
then
mate. If you look at a mouse and you look at a gerbil, gerbils are way fitter.
they are. That's true. I like this. They're right. Big black eyes, little pink noses, twitching noses. Yeah, it's true. Um, but yeah, following the change from a mouse to a gerbil, people were like, this story needs a little bit more spice, and they started introducing celebrities into the rumor. And throughout the 1980s, I suppose again this is pre-internet. We had to make our own entertainment. Um, People just started making up these rumors about like a whole host of different um, celebrities that had apparently stuffed
Rodent.
rodents up their anuses. But the most famous one, the one that people remember from the US and elsewhere, is Richard Gere. Did you hear about the Richard Gere
I did.
gerbil rumor?
I didn't. I just know I'd heard about a Freddie Starr one, but
Uh,
not
It's
Richard
it's
Gere.
got a little bit more credibility because it came off of the set of the film Pretty Woman. Um, so it was just something that happened. It's really weird. Um, so there was a fake press release that was faxed out of the set of Pretty Woman, which I guess was like just probably two people on the set. It's probably like the grip and like the lighting guy and like the sound guy that just pissing around, and it
Yeah.
got leaked off the set. And it was a fake press release that mentioned that he had done that.
Uh,
And then after that, there were a load of witness testimonies. So there were people who claimed to be on duty at the hospital on the date and supposedly saw Richard Gere. I don't know, like waddling into the A&E with holding his backside. Oh, guy, get out! Um, and yeah, there've been hundreds of reports like that from people who'd worked at that specific hospital. So they had witness testimonies. Again, there's just no way of verifying all of this. It just seems to be like a mad myth that got out of hand. Um,
someone having a laugh.
yeah. Um, hang on. I'm just finding there's a twist in the tale of this story um, that suggests that somehow Sylvester Stallone was involved. Um, uh, they apparently Sylvester they've had beef for a, like as long as their careers. I don't know how that would come about because I don't think I've ever seen Richard Gere and Sylvester Stallone together in the same place. Maybe they're the same person. But apparently, yeah,
They're very different genres of
yeah,
actors, aren't
there's
they?
yeah.
I'd have
But
said.
apparently, maybe
One's
he
an actor and
started it.
one's Sylvester Stallone.
Yeah, Sylvester Stallone was there typing out a fake press release on the set of Pretty Woman, which he wasn't even in, and it all started from there. So yeah, and then meanwhile, like you mentioned it, Freddie Starr over here, well over there in Blighty, um, the comedian Freddie Starr was accused of not inserting a hamster, but eating a hamster, eating somebody's hamster. He, in fact, named one of his.
Oh, was that it? See, that's
Yeah,
how they get twisted. I thought he was a hamster up the butt kind of
no,
guy.
his Freddie Starr ate my hamster was the headline in the Sun, um, and I think he went on to name his comedy tour after that. He did a tour called Freddie Starr Ate My Hamster. Um, he did, and he didn't eat somebody's hamster. Um, he didn't eat somebody's hamster. What happened was, it's a sensationalized story that does have some truth in it. Um, he was staying at this woman's house, as a former model, Louise Fox. Um, he was staying at a house in the 80s, and basically, well, here's a quote from her. She said, he had the hamster in the sandwich, but nobody ever said he ate it. And there was nobody more shocked than me when that headline came out. So he did in fact put a hamster in a sandwich, which he took
Just
a
for a
bite out
laugh.
of. Yeah, he
Yeah.
took a bite out of the sandwich, but he didn't um,
Eat
eat
hamster.
the hamster. He didn't bite the hamster. The hamster was unharmed, although she did go on to say, I was upset because the hamster was covered in butter, which took 2 days for it to lick off. I thought that was extraordinary because she didn't even clean her hamster after he'd put it in a sandwich. She just let it lick its own
You got to be
thing.
careful putting pets in your mouth. Uh, I lived in a house once with some boys, and we had a big fish tank. And one night we came back hammered or whatever, and like I dared one of them to put one of the goldfish in his mouth, and he did, and then like spat it back into the tank. Next morning, all of them dead. Like, so I
Jesus.
don't know what he had in his mouth.
Wow.
He did have, you know
He's
him,
he's
Kieran.
oh well, he'd probably been sucking himself off.
He had
So
questionable
yeah,
fucking hygiene
hygiene.
standards. So yeah, so that was pretty bad. Like literally, all of them, like 10 fish, had died.
I,
It
re-
was
I remember going to what was the name of the club in your town?
Echoes.
Echoes with Kieran, and like we've literally just arrived, and he just immediately went up to the ugliest person in the room and pulled her like straight, like no, just made a beeline, like, and everyone in the group was like, "Oh, fuck's sake, classic."
Yeah, that's him gone. Yeah, that was it, man. I've got a few quick ones. Can I run through some quick
Yeah,
ones?
do it.
Are you
Lay
done
them
with
down.
hamster sex? Yeah. Marilyn Manson was in the TV show The Wonder Years. Have you heard that one?
I have heard that, but is that's
Yeah.
not true? Is it? Is it?
No, it's not true.
No.
And you could easily verify that by looking at the name of the guy who did play the kid in the credits and finding out that he is still an actor. But that's one that went
Yeah.
around for a
But
long
he did
time.
look a little bit like that guy.
Quite a lot, yeah, yeah. Well, a lot like him.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was quite an interesting one. These are all like rock star ones. Gene Simmons of Kiss fame had a cow's tongue grafted onto his own tongue.
Obviously.
Yeah, like
Why wouldn't you
he's
do that?
he's got that long tongue, hasn't he?
Yeah.
Uh, I also heard that he took steroids to grow his tongue, um, but I don't know if
And
that's true
that's not
either.
true, is it?
I don't.
Unbelievable. The things you
Well,
think you know.
yeah. Jimi Hendrix wore LSD infused bandanas. Uh,
What?
it makes sense. So basically, he'd soak his bandana or his headband
Mm.
in LSD and then give himself little cuts on his forehead so he could get high whilst playing, but not stop playing, I guess. Uh, yeah, I, I
And
believe that. I
okay. Oh, so
think that
it's
could be
not
real.
verifiable. You don't know if that's true or not.
No,
Oh,
don't know, but
that's a
it's
pity.
the rumor going around the
Oh
rock
yeah,
and roll world.
which you're
Right,
a
I
part of.
thought this was true. Right, uh, what do you know about the White Stripes, the band?
Um. Well, I know that they are not, as you are about to say, what you're about to say.
White Stripes, a brother and sister.
Yeah. Yeah. That's not true.
They're not, are they? They were
No,
married though. Did you know that?
they are married. They've got kids.
No, they got divorced in
Did they?
2000. Yeah,
Oh no, I've got
yeah.
that was one of mine. I was going to bring that up, but
Oh
as you
no,
can see
sorry.
from the photo there, um, the brother and sister claim is kind. And they're both a little bit greasy. You know, they've got that
Hmm.
kind of sibling. And she's, as you can see from the image, she's very talented, and she's also a good drummer. Um, but they started the rumor themselves, didn't they? I think that was part of their shtick when they
Yeah.
were kind of up and coming. Have you got any more info on it?
Not no, not really. Hold on, let me just look at
Fantastic.
uh, after all, it turns out, yeah, pair look pretty similar, uh, and siblings playing in bands is not unusual. As it turns out, it's bullshit. The pair
Well,
weren't related at all and had actually been married but got divorced in
yeah,
2000,
yeah. I
a
mean,
year before they broke free.
I saw them live a few times because that was around uni time, and they were at Leeds Festival a couple of years running, and you know the way that he has this really creepy way of playing that, you know, he's just kind of staring at her. I suppose to keep the rhythm, but
Mm,
at that time, like the everybody believed this myth that they were brother and sisters. Like, ugh, there's a bit. What's going on there? There's a bit of. He looks like he might. No, don't like that.
mm,
I don't know if I'm going to buy their next CD now. And then
sounds
it turned out it wasn't true anyway.
um, people have claimed for decades that the Beatles, Paul McCartney, died a long time ago and was replaced by an imposter.
Mm.
Uh, that's how this bit of text starts, um, and then goes on to compare Avril Lavigne to Paul McCartney, um, in, in as much as
Okay.
uh, in 2002 it was claimed that Avril Lavigne was dead and she'd been replaced by an actress. I'm
Why?
not
Why
sure
bother?
how that
Why would
helped.
anyone? Why would you even bother with that?
Would anyone notice? I mean, like, um, uh, it was all started by some Brazilian person who wrote a little blog, but somehow that blog went viral. Um, and they kept this myth going for years, and it wasn't until 2015 that the person who wrote the blog just said, um,
Sorry.
"Yeah, I
Made
was
it up.
just joking and sort of seeing how easy it was for people to believe made up stuff."
Hmm. I mean,
But also rock and roll, the queen of rock and roll, some might say.
yeah, Freddie
Uh,
Mercury.
she she she's a hard rocker, um, and allegedly Dolly Parton uh, always wears long sleeves because she is covered in biker
Well, you
tattoos.
sent me like 10 Dolly Parton.
I
I
know,
I
just
know that
go all of.
your
I
wife to
love
be
Dolly.
is a big Dolly Parton fan, but I
Yeah,
don't
it's
think it
now
was
mine
quite
now.
necessary for me to send so many Dolly Parton photos. I mean, I get
Well,
it.
pick any. I think I sent you a tattoo of Dolly Parton.
Yeah.
That's
No, there's that. There's this one here. There's Dolly on a bike.
yeah, a
For yeah,
biker
for whatever.
Dolly.
There she is. She's got tats. She's a biker. There's a Dolly Parton tattoo that looks a little bit like Barbara Windsor. Actually, there's more of a
I
kind
think
of
Barbara
Babs.
Windsor tries to look like Dolly
Is
Parton.
you
So
saying that maybe is that
who
Dolly
came
Parton's
first?
got a tattoo of Barbara Windsor? Because
Maybe.
that's a crossover I'm totally down with. I'm ready for that.
So Dolly Parton, in her youth, used to wear short sleeves a lot. Oh, this reminds me of another one. Just shout Cliff Richard at me in about 5 minutes.
I was
Um, yeah, so in her youth, she could often be seen with sleeveless tops, showing a bit of arm for the
mm,
boys.
oh yeah.
And then in later life, uh, you'll never see her arms. Um, so there's been rumours for years that
She
Dolly's
hasn't got any
like
arms.
really
No.
heavily inked with like full sleeves, but she's never shown them publicly.
Hmm.
She's never shown her arms publicly. Um, in 2012, she was on the red carpet for a premiere of her film, uh, which I didn't know existed, called Joyful Noise.
Is she
Uh,
in it or is it about her?
I think it's about her and
Yeah.
she's in it. I'm not
Oh.
sure. I'll ask Sharon. I can't believe she hasn't made me watch it if this is a thing. Um,
She will now.
but she bent over a little bit too far, and her top rode up and showed a little bit of her tummy, and
Oh.
someone caught a picture of like a little flower tattoo, um, and then she was on various talk shows and they were talking about it, uh, and she said that the photo had been doctored or
Hmm.
deep faked and denied it all. And then
Don't forget to send me that link for self fellatio.
okay.
Right.
Well, you
Sorry, carry
can
on.
wait till the pod's over.
Oh, okay.
Um, in a yeah, so in a 2013, Jennifer Saunders, lovely Jennifer Saunders,
Oh yeah,
she
the
released
Vicar of Dibley.
yeah, no, that's the other one.
Yeah,
Uh,
absolutely fabulous.
yeah. She released an autobiography, and in that autobiography, she tells this story about her and Roseanne, Roseanne Barr,
Yeah.
uh, ran into Dolly Parton at a restaurant. And Dolly, for no reason, there's no context to this story, just immediately asked them if they'd like to see her boobs and her boob tattoos. And
What?
she opened up a top and showed them her boobs, which Jennifer Saunders says were completely covered in like beautiful angels and butterflies and flowers and
Hmm.
just completely covered in tattoos. Um, Apparently, Dolly made them promise not to tell anyone, uh, but Jennifer
Okay.
Saunders put it in a book,
Yeah, he's got a
which
big
sold
mouth,
quite
hasn't
a
he?
lot. And then Roseanne told the story on a chat show once. Um, I've got a quote. Do you know who is totally tattooed? I shouldn't even tell this. Dolly Parton is totally tattooed. She showed me in a restaurant. She showed me all these awesome tattoos all over her body. No black or blue lines, all like pastel, gorgeous bows all over everything. So apparently she's not into like lines, but she does like these watercolor type tattoos. You may have seen them. They
Hmm.
sometimes get a
Yeah.
bit popular. Um, Actually, Dolly has sort of gone on to say that she does have quite a lot of tattoos, and she uses them to cover up scars from various surgeries that she's had.
Hmm.
Uh, and so obviously she's had quite a few boob jobs, and she's
Really?
covered,
They're not real.
she's covered all her boobs with tattoos, which I think is more power to her. And then I suspect she's had a few like arm tucks and things like that,
Hmm.
which is again rather than have a big purple scar, she's figured I'll have a butterfly. I love Dolly Parton. She can do whatever she wants.
Yeah,
She's the best.
she's great.
Yeah. So that's Dolly Parton's tattoos.
Well, um, moving on from Dolly Parton's tattoos, nicely into well, I'll just put this on the screen, and you can tell me what it is. What's that?
I don't know because I'm lagging. Uh,
Just in life in general, or
yeah.
yeah.
Hold on. Hold on. What is it? Where is it?
What could it be? What does it represent?
Um,
Oh,
Describe it to me.
it's something. It's representative of.
Ah,
Uh, uh,
no, I know what this is.
yeah, what is it?
It's Prince Albert.
Prince Albert, the piercing through the knob, and most people are, I think, quite surprised to find the origin of that name because it is a bit of a strange name, Prince Albert. Prince Albert was a genuine member of the royal family,
Yeah,
the
a
husband
German.
of yeah, and
He
you know
invented the Christmas tree.
he didn't invent the Christmas tree, but he did.
Yes, he did.
He imported it to the UK. He made it an English festivity, but it was an existing tradition in Germany already. The Tannenbaum, oh
Mm.
Tannenbaum, oh Tannenbaum. Come on, you know the words. No.
Oh, pierce you through the penis.
Yeah, I don't. I've never met anyone with a Prince Albert, but
Oh,
I
I
have
have.
always wondered what happens when you go to the urinal. You get it
Hmm.
in your, you get it in the urinal and up your nose at the same time. Like, where does it come out? Does it? It can't work like that, can it? Could
No,
it?
it doesn't. No, it goes. I, I'm not sure where we're going with this as a myth, but okay. I believe it goes through the bottom part of the hole, the urethra.
Urethra. Yeah.
Uh, yeah, and then you just sort of spray a little bit. Um, yeah, it doesn't go through the whole knob like this banana. It's
Yeah. Well, so I don't know. I've seen it. I've seen video evidence of other styles of piercing.
I'm sure there's
Um,
loads of things you can
but
do. Yeah.
yeah, nowadays it's used supposedly to increase the pleasure during intercourse. But it is not indisputable, but it can't be said whether this is true or not. There are some details about Prince Albert that kind of give credence to the myth, to the rumor. Um, he
Are you saying
has,
the rumor is that he had his winky done?
yeah, that's what
Ah,
the rumor is that it comes from him. It's called the Prince Albert after Prince Albert. They didn't just nominate two random words off the internet. Um, it's it's strange because there's a lot of because of this rumor. There's a lot of other rumors that come out of this around the relationship between Queen Victoria and her husband, the noble Prince Albert. Um, but one of the legends says that he had his what should we call it, bell end. He had his penis
glands.
his gland. He had his gland pierced to assist the hang of his genitals within relatively tight trousers. Um,
It
so
seems
that's
pretty extreme.
to organise the crown jewels, as it were. Um,
Yeah.
and that's one. That's one. But then there's a slightly more detailed version of that story, which is that he was actually known to suffer from. I'm not going to pronounce this correctly. I think it's Peyronie's disease, which is something that creates like a severe curvature of the penis, which can be really painful when you got a stiffy. And basically, the idea is that he had the piercing to somehow help with like overarching curvature.
It was like a brace for his
Yeah,
knob.
basically, you just like tether it to the floor or whatever, or to the ceiling. It depends. I don't know which way it curved. Um, to one of the walls, and then jump on. But yeah, it's those are the rumours. We can't say if it was true or if it was false. Uh, it's I would think that the other rumours about them being very prudish, that the prudishness was on the side of Prince Albert and not Queen Victoria, because it's usually the woman that gets labelled with that, especially in royalty. But
Mm.
apparently she had a very erotic collection of art, um, so which doesn't really correspond with her being a prude at all. She was quite fond of the naked form. So I don't know. She was famously very aggrieved when he died. I think they were actually one of the royal couples that were actually very close. They
Oh,
have these like arranged marriages for territory
yeah.
and politics and all of that. But apparently they were very very close, and she never really recovered from him dying before her, because she reigned, I think, for quite a while after he'd gone.
On her own, yeah.
Yeah.
I think it was
Um,
quite a few years, wasn't it? I find it interesting. She didn't believe in lesbians, did she? Queen Victoria.
how can you
So
not believe in lesbian? I mean, if you can
if you look
believe,
at Queen Victoria, if you ever wanted to, if you asked a
uh,
child to draw an old miserable lesbian, they'd draw Queen Victoria a
yeah,
hundred.
she's like a potato with a face and a crown. Um, there's a great sketch from uh, was it the guys that did Peep Show, Mitchell and Webb,
Yeah.
um, with Queen Victoria, and it was that era in England where all the men had beards, and it's like her counsellor complaining. Because she introduced these trees. I can't remember the type. This is true, but there's that type of tree in England that kind of smells a bit like cum.
No,
You never noticed that when you've been to the park. You're going to the wrong parks, man. Oh,
I'm
maybe
not
I'm going to the wrong
sniffing
ones.
trees either.
No, it's
Like
just there's an
in the hope
overpowering
that they
smell of,
smell of
of
cum.
jizz. There's jizzy tree that's got a really jizzy. You never smelt the jizz tree. You don't have those where you're from. We've got loads of them in Stevenage. They're all over the place. Oh, it might be doggers though.
It might
I don't
just
know if
be yeah, cum
it's
covered
just, but it might be
tree.
actual jizz. But yeah,
Uh,
she introduced that variety of tree that made all of England smell like cum for like the next 100 years. But there's a great sketch. I won't go into too much detail. Just go and watch it. It's very funny. Moving on from knob piercings, um, I've got another one that I can throw down. I've got some true myths that people think are myths but actually turn out to be true. Um,
oh, we should have played a game.
oh shit.
Is it
Okay. Well,
true or
yeah, could have
false?
done that.
Alright,
Well, I'll just go straight. I've already told you that these are true.
yeah, true or true.
Lady Gaga. Hang
Mm.
on, let me stick her up. Where is she?
I quite like Lady Gaga now. I used to be scared of her,
Yeah,
but
you should be.
I think she's quite a nice
Well,
lady.
yeah. Are
Oh,
you
you're
sure?
gonna ruin this.
Do you
Yeah,
want
go on,
to?
ruin it.
You don't want to retract that statement? There.
No, go on.
Well, there she is. Look, I don't know if you can. You're still lagging.
Mm.
There she is, all dressed up, with her best clothes on. She's done her hair nice.
Yeah,
Head out onto the town,
yeah.
and she
See ya
is famously afraid of ghosts. Well, no, afraid of some ghosts. Sorry, specifically a ghost named Ryan, which is a terrifying name for a ghost. That she's pretty
now.
sure
Ryan.
haunts her. Yeah, And she spent $50,000 on a special electromagnetic field meter designed to detect poltergeists. But
Yeah, I mean, she's got a lot of money.
she's obsessed with this ghost called Ryan that apparently goes on tour with her, and one of the members of her touring crew says she's been telling us all for months that she has a male spirit called Ryan who travels the world with her. She's pretty terrified by this spirit, but more than anything, he's annoying her as he won't leave her alone. An annoying ghost called Ryan. He hasn't been doing anything to her violent or scary, but she's freaked out by his presence. She's a very spiritual person and in tune with the spiritual world, but this is a step too far even for her. It sounds like they reprimanded him. What are they going to do? Stick him in cuffs? Bloody Ryan.
Uh,
Yeah. So it's true. She is haunted by a spirit called Ryan.
I want to say I know a myth about Lady Gaga, but
Oh
she
yeah.
got poisoned by a bush baby. Have you ever heard this?
No. Are you
So I
thinking
think
of
it's
Rasputin?
no, no, not a bush baby, an eye, which is a bit like a bush baby. She was doing a video shoot, and there was this thing called an eye. Do you know them?
No.
They're like these little sort of monkey rodent
I thought
creatures.
that's what that's. I thought it's what you say when you think something's up in Yorkshire.
Aye,
Aye, aye.
aye. But apparently they have like a little poisonous gland, and she wasn't meant to touch this eye, and she kept going to like this animal man who was on the video shoot. Oh, I really want to touch your eye, and eventually he said, "Yeah, okay, but like careful
Don't
because they're
touch its gland.
poisonous." And they don't look poisonous; they're like quite cute, apart from they have one long finger. And yeah, I think she almost died. I'm not sure. Maybe I'm just making that up. Who
Well,
knows?
she shouldn't go around poking poisonous glands. What she? Surely it's like hidden somewhere. You're not just gonna have like a gland sticking out of its head, is it? Like, oh, I was gonna
I think
touch
it's
that.
like in its armpit. I might just be
Oh,
making
she's
shit
sticking
up.
her finger in its armpit. No wonder she's haunted by Ryan, going around. Maybe Ryan's one of the eyes that she accidentally murdered. It's follows her on tour. Well,
Sorry, I interrupted.
yeah, I've got one more. Um, Obviously you're familiar with Sir Christopher Lee,
Like Dracula.
like Dracula, and like let me put him in his most commonly accepted form. Uh, where is it? God no.
Oh, Gandalf or
Yeah,
something.
Gandalf. Oh no, after I lost the Gandalf picture. But yeah, Gandalf. Not Gandalf, the other one.
The other one,
There he is.
Dumbledore. No, that's Harry Potter.
Bumblebee. That's a
Oh,
transformer.
Dumbledore. Oh, I don't know. A
Um,
wizard.
yeah, the wizard Sauron. No, yes, no, I can't
I don't
remember.
know. I fucking
Lord of the
hate
Rings.
things.
Um, but yeah, he was famous for being Dracula and loads of other stuff. He was in hundreds of films. Literally, that's
Was
not even
he?
an exact. Yeah, he was in over 100 films. He was in, and he didn't. He was the bad guy in James Bond, wasn't he? The man with the golden gun,
Oh, was he Scaramanga?
Scaramanga. Yeah, but well,
He had an extra nipple.
that's a good seg because apparently and actually, Sir Christopher Lee was the inspiration for James Bond
Ooh, in real life.
in real life. Do you know why? Because he had an
Because he
absolutely
was a misogynistic rapist.
no, not that. Um, I mean, that's another story for another day. But he was in the military. He was in special services. He was a
Oh,
spy. Um,
really?
and let me see if I can relate some of his exploits. Because he did speak about it a little bit in later life, but during World War Two, he was part of the SAS, and yeah, he didn't talk about it for most of his career because he was involved in classified operations, which actually a lot of the stuff that he did remained classified until the day that he died. So maybe he was the guy that shot Hitler in his bunker. I don't know. But he was reportedly very skilled at decoding German ciphers because he speaks German. And Yeah, he returned to duty after a bout of malaria 6 times. He got malaria 6 times. He just went back to work. Um,
Although COVID-7, just saying.
yeah, it's not the same. He did espionage missions, and yeah, it's all still classified. But Ian Fleming, who obviously wrote the James Bond novels, was his step cousin.
Hmm.
And apparently, he said that Christopher's experiences as a spy inspired him to create James Bond. So that's a myth that is actually true, and quite a
Wow.
good one, I think.
Can I do my Ultimate Warrior one?
Yeah, go on then. Let's wind up with some Ultimate Warrior. Where
Yeah.
do I start with the Ultimate Warrior
In the
pictures?
order
Can you
that I
just?
sent them to you.
Oh, right, come on, I can't remember how that works. I put two of them together. So there's him doing his pose, and then
Hmm.
there's him being interviewed by Vince McMahon.
Okay. All right. So, the rumor. So, I like wrestling. You might have gathered that.
Yeah,
The rumor is that in the 90s, the early 90s, uh, specifically the summer of 1991, was the Ultimate Warrior died, and they replaced him with just another
clone.
guy
Yeah,
with the same face paint. And what gets stranger is that this happened quite a few times with the Ultimate
British
Warrior.
Bulldog. Didn't that happen with British Bulldog?
No, he did die.
Yeah, but I thought. Oh, okay, right. Please
Anyway,
continue.
so in 1991, he left the WWF, and people thought he had died. Uh, what actually happened is he wanted £250,000 from Vince McMahon before going out to do a match at SummerSlam. Vince gave him the check. Uh, Warrior went out to the match, came back through the curtain. Vince fired him immediately. And obviously, 1991, he didn't want the story to get out because everything was still kayfabe. Remember what kayfabe means? Keeping it
Yep,
real.
exactly.
Um, so just he just disappeared, like was never mentioned again for about 2 years. Then in 1993 came back. Uh, the steroid trial had happened then. By then, so Vince had been indicted by the FDA on steroid charges of distributing steroids to his wrestlers. Um, so everyone sort of disappeared and then came back way smaller because
Yeah,
they just hadn't
yeah,
done steroids for ages. So again, he came back then in 1993, and people thought, no, it's not the same guy. He had a slightly different haircut, which would lead people to believe that you were dead. Like, you
yeah,
can't get a haircut when you're a celebrity. Um, and again, he was back with the company for like a year and then fucked off to go and do something else. Then that lower picture there with Vince and Jerry the King Lawler. That's 1996 when he returned again, wearing a baseball cap for fuck
Oh,
knows
you can't
why.
do that. No.
Like, he just always wore a baseball cap, which once again led people to believe it's he's
It's
dead.
a different
It's
person.
another like doppelganger. Um, and this basically went on for forever. Then he burnt a load of bridges with WWE and wasn't seen there for many years until the next picture, which is fondly known as Old Warrior, where he sort of made up with them in 2014, and they put him in the Hall of Fame. Um, and that was lovely. It was dead nice. He'd gone through his phase of being a right wing political speaker, spouting hatred, um, and mellowed out a bit. He'd become a real family man, and they inducted him into the Hall of Fame there. So that's the night before WrestleMania, which
Yeah.
is generally a Friday night. Uh, WrestleMania ran on the Saturday and Sunday. He was on the Saturday show, just going out and waving,
I thought
and
it was.
then
I thought that was. I thought that was Mel Gibson when you sent that to me. I thought, was this going to be like a myth about Mel Gibson being an anti-Semite? Turns out it's true. Anyway,
but
sorry.
then the Monday after WrestleMania, he made an appearance on Monday Night Raw and gave a really interesting speech. Uh, I can't remember it off the top of my head, but there's a line in it about one day every man's heart will beat its last beat and their lungs will breathe their last breath. Um, but as long as you stay true to who you are, something, it's all good. Uh, Approximately 7 hours later, he was dead,
Bloody
which
hell.
is mad, isn't it? And which led to a whole other like conspiracy that Vince had him bumped off.
Hmm.
And if anyone's been following the news about Vince McMahon, that's looking more and more likely. He might have shit on his head
Yeah.
until he died,
Yeah.
just head shat him to death whilst self fellatioing. I
Yeah.
don't know. But yeah, that's the Ultimate Warrior. Just getting a little wrestling one in there because I like it.
There's one more I missed. I just don't, I don't want to miss off that other image that I've not put up yet of him on the front cover of the WCW NWO magazine.
Ah, yeah. Sorry. Yeah, let me just talk about that briefly. Something else, sort of added to the story. WCW, which was the rival company, sort of wanted to get him in, but they didn't for a long time. So they just created their own version of this of the Ultimate Warrior called the Renegade, who was just a straight up
Oh, hang on a
like
minute. Hang on a minute. Wait. So the the myth is that he died and that he was replaced with another person, and then just to make the add another layer of depth to this, they
yeah.
created another version of him in another
In a
wrestling.
rival company,
It's
yeah. And he
ridiculous.
looked like him. He wore the same gear and did all the same moves.
Okay,
He was
right.
just like a juiced up, like not very good wrestler. And this guy, bless him, it's dead sad, right? Because he was basically just made out to be like a wish version of the Ultimate Warrior. He was worse at wrestling than the Ultimate Warrior
Wow.
was. His real name was Richard Wilson. Um,
I knew it was going
uh,
to be Richard.
and yeah, so he, he sort of he was in WCW for about 2 years, but it was never going to be great for him, was it? Because he was just a knockoff of someone, and eventually they sort of released him from his contract, and
Hmm.
yeah, then a few years later he was all depressed and he went and shot himself in the
Oh,
head.
bloody hell. Why does it
Yeah,
always have to end like that in wrestling?
and then when he done that, they brought the real Ultimate Warrior in for like
Just to
millions
confuse
of
everyone a little
pounds
bit more.
just to rub it in. Yeah, so no one knows whether he's dead, alive,
I don't know.
whether it's
Yeah.
been the same guy
Maybe
all
he's
the way
behind
through.
you right now.
Yeah, it might be me dressed up with some face paint. Who knows? But
Implored.
I'm pretty sure he's actually dead. So yeah, we can take some solace in that.
Yeah, well, finally the saga ends.
Yeah, talking
How
no
many of these
more.
Ultimate Warriors are there? They're cloning and churning out of this laboratory.
I'm just trying to work it out. I reckon in that story, I've probably five, potentially five different people pretending to be Ultimate Warrior. Uh, but yeah, he's dead now. So,
Well,
celebrate.
there's plenty more myths out there, especially nowadays. Like you mentioned earlier. I think that it's easier to create rumors with modern technology, especially with deep fake and all of that stuff,
Mm.
and people just creating fake accounts of celebrities and all of that. Who somebody got involved in that recently? I can't remember who it was, but they can clone your voice.
Yeah.
I think that we're going to see a lot more of that in the future. Of It's kind of disturbing if you're just an ordinary guy, you could get set up for a crime quite easily, um,
Mm.
with a fake video and a fake footage and a fake voice clone. But they won't
Yeah.
come after us. I mean, if we go down for anything, it'll be something that we've already actually said or done, and we're recording it all
Yeah.
now anyway. So uh, you know, you
Yeah,
can't
this
hide from
does.
the truth.
It does sometimes feel like just an hour confession. This podcast, but yeah, I don't know, man. I think it goes back to AI again. Goes back to one of our early shows about cancel culture. these sort of rumors now. Like if I don't know, if someone said Harry Styles had a couple of ribs removed to suck himself off whilst bumming himself with a hamster,
Yeah,
he'd probably get cancelled. Or the person who said it got
yeah,
might get
which would be
cancelled.
you, wouldn't it? Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. But yeah, I don't know, just different times, isn't it? I I do find it interesting, but at some point, someone had to make up a rumor and where that comes from. Yeah,
Mm.
like just sitting at work one day, bit bored, going, "Oh, do you hear about Prince Charles? He's got sausage
His
fingers." Oh
fingers,
no,
yeah, but
he
that's
does. But
true.
yeah,
That's
yeah, that
that's
is
that
true. But
actually true. Yeah,
it's
no,
a weird thing, but I quite like it.
I think we don't. There's not enough boredom these days, so people aren't creating those rumors in the same creative way that they used to. So in conclusion, everybody's innocent until they are discovered with a rodent in their anus. Until that day,
As the
um,
old saying goes.
yeah, as my grandmother used to say. Um, and on
My
that
dad
note,
always told me. Sorry.
on that
Yeah,
note, we'll sign off. So
good show.
lovely to chat with you as always, and I'll see you in the next this show, that show. I'll see you in that
Bye.
show, this show next time.
Oh, I love you. Bye.
Okay, love, bye, 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 bye.